Hello and welcome everybody to Azure Cloud Week, Day 3. I hope you enjoyed the previous 2 days and you had the knowledge that is required. Today we will be starting with the third day. Tomorrow will be our last day, and I hope that we, in the Cloud Week, after tomorrow we'll be going through the exam prep. So I hope and I wish that you had good experience during these 2 days, and I hope today also that we will get more information regarding the Azure 140 course. I'm sorry. Okay. Today we're going to talk about security. Security is an important matter for each and every client for the whole environment. So it should be always studied well and implemented well in order to get the best and to avoid being faced to any problem or facing any issues with our security. Lots and lots of services are made for that. And of course, Azure includes a lot of services and technologies that prevent us from facing any security issues. Many of them, like conditional access policies, like multi-factor authentication. These policies and authentication components are used to make sure that the correct persons or the right persons are logging in and the correct accounts are logging into the correct areas of work, so that we do not have any suspicious activities in our network or in our host pools or in any of the locations. We have many suspicious activities, like persons coming from suspicious places, like suspicious IP addresses, like wrong timing zones. All of that can be controlled using the policies of the conditional access. And additional to the conditional access policies, we have what is called the multi-factor authentication that requires the user to make sure, or requires the verification of the user by implementing multi-factor authentication, which is like adding a password plus any kind of identification, like a code being sent to the user's phone or to the user's email, so that the tenant or the receiver makes sure that this is the correct person connecting to the correct location with that. So we'll be talking about the conditional access, how do you control the conditional access, how to create the policy, and how to understand the policy components, because as you know, the conditional access policy requires some configuration in addition to some requirements to be in the Azure tenant, some kind of pre-configuration that we will be seeing, and we'll explain these in details. As you can see here, we have a user trying to, let's say, log in to the tenant or to the Active Directory or to the services. I will put the pen. This is a user coming from a location, user and location. As we might know, or we should know, that a user who is in my tenant, that he is an employee in my company that's in London, let's say, he is trying to log in. This login is, okay, it is in London. I'm sorry, excuse my handwriting because I'm using the mouse. So if a user location is set in his profile and this user is set to be coming from London, maybe a suspicious activity would be if a user with the same credentials is logging from, let's say, Lebanon. So because we already have this user's profile configuration stating that this user location is in London, whenever he tries to log in from another area, directly the conditional access, it will analyze this signal and decides whether he is allowed or not to log in. So some configuration we use, one of them is the location, I will show you how to do that or to configure that. Then the user will have to go into another, of course, this is regarding my policy. I will tell him if this user is coming from a suspicious location, let him pass through another authentication or verification method, and I will be setting the requirement for the MFA or the multi-factor authentication just to make sure that this is the user who is going on, or I might block the access for the user for a certain time so that the verification of why this happened would be investigated, and then he would be gaining the logging again. I will take you to the portal and I will show you some of the configuration I'm talking about. Here is my Azure Active Directory. Okay, I will log into the Active Directory because we always set these settings from there. What's happening? Let me go to the, I am so sorry for that. Okay, it is opened now. Here we go to the user first to show you some of the configuration that I was talking about. Okay, this is where I was. In the first place. I will go home to the Active Directory again. Azure Active Directory. I am mixing up between the tenants. Okay, this is the Azure Active Directory. This is the user. We'll go to the user's profile and see the configuration about the location. This is the user. Okay. Here are the configuration of the user. These are the contact information. I might edit any of these. Why is it taking so much? Let me check on that again. I will edit the properties. Okay, I will search for the location, usage location. Here it is in Lebanon. So I here decided that this user is in Lebanon. I can change that to any area or to any country. Okay, then this is the location of the user. I might be setting up other criteria, but I'm saying about the location just for now. So after that, I go to the Active Directory, Azure Active Directory. In order to activate the multi-factor authentication and the conditional access, there is one important thing you should know, is that I should have some licenses activated. I will go to the license. Okay, in order to be able to use the multi-factor authentication, I would need a P2 license or an E5. I will show you all the products. I already activated them. You can activate them for as a trial, once for each tenant for 1 month. And then I will go back to the security. And here I can see the conditional access. Okay. Whenever I don't have this one enlightened, or if it is dimmed, it means that you did not activate the license. So before you will be able to start conditional access, you should, as I told you, go first to the licenses and activate P2 and E5 licenses as a trial. Then you can now start creating the policy. What are the parts of the policy that you can or you should set? You give a name for this policy, access policy. One, here you get to whom it is assigned. You select for all the users or select specific users, and there you can even select the work users or groups, or you can select workload identities. Any of these. You can also exclude a specific user. Maybe you would have, or you already assigned this to all users, but you need to exclude one of the user or two of the users or one group, etc. So you go to the exclude and select whom you want to exclude from this. Another, where do you want to use this to be that applied? On the cloud apps or on the user actions or on the authentication. This is the area of the appliance or where it is going to be applied. Also, we have an exclude button to exclude the users who will not, or the groups who will not have this policy applied on. What are the conditions that we need? We have 0 conditions now. We can have one of these conditions or mix of these conditions. The user risk, I get to the not configured. I will assign it to the level, to high, medium, or low, and it will assign this policy regarding the level of security. There's, if you can, I will send you during the last day, I will give you the resources that will explain the level, each level, what does it include. We have the sign-in risk. It is the sign-in that will be applied on the sign-in procedure. Also, it will be, you can state if you want it to be on a high or medium or low or no risk, which means that it is also by level. Sometimes you might need to set high for the users that are coming as guests or they are out of your organization, and maybe make it easier for the users and in your organization because you already applied some updates, security updates to their systems, and whatever might be a risk for you and you have it already filtered, so you can change or switch the level of their sign-in risk control. You also have device platforms. This is related to the device. Maybe you need to allow or include or exclude some devices, like as you can see here, I would allow any device, or I would select a specific device platform that can access or log into my environment. Maybe I will be allowing or disallowing them. So this is up to you to decide and to configure. As you can see here, I don't want, let's say, I don't want any of the Android. So please, if you are a fan to Android, don't feel insulted. I'm just giving an example. Maybe I will choose Linux or Windows. Whatever I might feel that it could apply a risk to my environment, I just set the policy to protect my environment from. Also, the locations, as this is the one, I would say yes. All trusted location or a selected location. And here I would choose, let's say, United States or USA maybe. Countries. Okay. And we'll choose the name or type in the IP address that I want to mask or filter. Then I also can apply that on the client applications. I choose yes. I stop the browser. I stop the mobile applications, or I stop the legacy authentications. All of these can be configured from here. And this is the place where I state or set up or configure the conditional access policies. One important security measure I can also add, which is the multi-factor authentication. I will go back to security and to identity protection. And here I can see the multi-factor authentication. And this is the place where I can set it up. I can set it to a certain user or to all the users. As you can see here, if I set up this for all the users, or I can choose individual users, I will select this user, select. The next time the user logged in, he will pass through the multi-factor setup or multi-factor authentication procedures, and this policy will be enforced if I press on enforce or not. To show you where to do that, in order to have an idea, and of course during the labs we will be doing these procedures. I showed you how to plan and implement the multi-factor authentication. As you can see, when you first sign in, as I told you, it asks you for the username and the password. You just put them. Whenever the next time you log in, they will be, as a client, it will remember. Of course, if you press remember me, or if you say, if you press or checkbox the remember me checkbox, the next time you log in, it won't ask you for this authentication. It only will ask you for the authentication or multi-factor authentication only if you have any conditional access threat. If your location is not trusted, if your IP is not trusted, if you are performing any suspicious actions, and this will be decided due to the level, which is high, medium, and low. Whenever you have any of these threats, so you will be redirected to do the multi-factor authentication again. The components of the multi-factor authentication, of the conditional access I described, we can set it for the users on the groups. We can also set it for cloud apps or local. We can have session controls if you want to control the access by implementing any application force like conditional access control. You have seen the conditions that are on the policy, and you can, if you want to grant the access to a resource by implementing requirements for MFA, and this is a will guide the user or will take the user to a multi-factor authentication to gain the access. It will be applied to him or forced on him. Additional security measure or additional security component is the Microsoft Defender. As you know, you can enable Microsoft Defender, and it can be applied and used to control the users, the subscriptions, the virtual machines, and the key vault, and the storage account. You can apply all these controls over them, and you can get the security for the identity. It can secure the identity. It also can secure the devices the users are using. It can also protect the application. It can protect the host. Of course, if I wanted to protect the host, there are some additional agents that should be installed on the hosts, and it can also protect the deployment configuration, the network configuration, or the network controls. It is not the responsibility of it's responsibility to protect any of the physical hosts or the physical network or the data center, because this is a shared responsibility, and it is the role of the Azure to protect that, and they are automatically being monitored by them. So the Microsoft Defender automatically can protect these, while it is not protecting these components, because it is a shared responsibility by Azure to protect these components. Microsoft Defender for session hosts should be installed as an agent, as I told you. It works on the virtual desktops or on a physical Windows endpoint, of course. We can install it. It supports up to 50 concurrent users together, and single session scenario in Windows 10 is supported for onboarding Azure Virtual Desktop machine into Defender for endpoint. So this is so clear that single session scenarios on Windows 10 Enterprise is supported. Single session, not multi-session. So this is so important to be taken into consideration. So this is the model number one. I will get back again to the portal to show you some. We'll go back to the portal and we'll see how to work with Windows Defender. This is Microsoft Defender for Cloud with Microsoft Defender. This is where you get it started with that. As you can see, you can use this portal to enable it, to see what is going. This is the dashboard that is showing the resources that are being monitored. Okay. You can have it as a free trial for 30 days. You can get started with that. And you can upgrade and get better version of that, but you will have to be paying after the 1 month trial. So this is where you get started with Azure Defender. You enable the Microsoft Defender for Cloud and get it started with a 30 days free trial. Okay, we can press on upgrade or on skip, and will be running the trial for the 30 days. I will get back again to the Active Directory and we'll get back also to security, just to remind you where to get the conditional access. This is the conditional access. Here you set the policy, you just press on the plus to get or to start a new policy. Okay, or you can, another option in the conditional access is to use templates that have ready-made policies. I go to select the template and require multi-factor authentication. This is the name of the template. And you can see here a summary about what does this template do. You can tailor-made your own policy, or you can use one of the ready-made policies. And you can apply that to your local hosts and apply these to all the clients that are going to log into your virtual desktops. Okay. We'll get back to the presentation and continue and talk a lot about the FSLogix. Yesterday, I explained the FSLogix for you, and we knew that the FSLogix is a profile container that is recommended for the control or to use it with the profiles that are being loaded with Azure Virtual Desktops, because this FSLogix container service can give us the best performance when it is used with the profiles that's for our Azure Virtual Desktops. We have seen yesterday how to install them and how to configure some things of them on them and how to recommend them as a profile container. And today we will be configuring and we'll see how to configure the cloud cache and what is the cloud cache, how we will configure the profile containers. We'll get into some tools and how to manage rule sets and application masking. Rule sets, what are they used for, and what are the application masking used for? So, how to plan for the FSLogix? As you can see here, we have what is called the roaming profiles. What is the roaming profile? The roaming profile is the profile that you can see whenever you log in with username, with your credentials. Let's say you are a user that is shared or you logged into two different application groups or hosts, two app hosts, and you have different configuration for each of them. Maybe you are a member of the marketing, and maybe you are a member of the sales. Let's say that. And you have your account or your profile. You need this profile to be seen wherever you log from. Then you will be directed to what is called a roaming profile. Or maybe another scenario when you need to force the users to use a profile that is mandatory for all of them. So all these users will be directed to a roaming profile that will be shown to each and every user. So the Azure Virtual Desktop service recommends FSLogix profile as a user profile solution. This is for you to remember. This solution is recommended by Microsoft, by Azure Virtual Desktop, because it is the best designed for this roaming profile in a remote computing environment. It stores all your profiles, as we said, in a storage, Azure storage, and it directs the profile users or directs the host pool to take this profile from this shared location. So all the users will be seeing the same roaming profile whenever they sign in. This container dynamically attaches them to the computing environment that is stored on a VHDX storage type. So this technology or this profile container has the ability or will redirect the user to get the profile from this Azure storage that is a VHDX. So all the user profiles are stored in there. So it will be the source for the user profiles, and they will get their profiles from there. A user profile, as we know, is it contains all the elements that is related to that user, like the files, the applications, the data he is using. Whenever he has a personal profile, this profile will be loaded for him whenever he logs in. But if he is sharing a shared profile, all the data of these shared users will be the same. So it is the role of the FS logic to get this profile and load it to the user regarding where he is coming from or who is he. So a remote user profile provides a partition between user data and the operating system. It makes what is made the distinction between them. The user data will be stored on this VHDX, while the OS will be stored in the managed disk or the disk that is attached to this virtual host that contains the operating system that all the users are using. While each and every user has his own profile stored on a shared location on the shared storage, which is on a storage account. Whenever the user logs in, the role of the logics to get him his profile. Some recommendations for FSLogix profile containers. What are they? As you know, the performance of FSLogix profile containers are so different from the performance if we install them without using this technology, because FSLogix profile containers can exceed in many ways or in a large difference with the traditional folders that that has been used in the past, because FSLogix performance is very high. So they have what is called the caching that speeds up the retrieval of these folders. It also can support what is called the additional folders. These additional folders, besides the user profile, we can have additional folders that can be used for additional software or for additional application. So integrating Azure files with Azure Active Directory, FSLogix profile container performance and features take the advantage of the cloud using Azure file authentication with Azure Active Directory domain services. By addressing both of them, so it can reduce the cost and reduce the administrative administrative work overheading. So this means that whenever I use the FSLogix, I am having a greater performance and lots easier management over these folders. You know, yesterday I showed you how to install it, and then we can log to the utility. This is the FSLogix profile configuration tool. Okay, this is, let me just erase this. So this is the pen again. So I have this is the name of the utility. I started, and from this utility, I can install, or after installing the FSLogix, I must take into consideration if I am using 32-bit operating system or 64-bit operating system. Yesterday, I showed you that this is the FSLogix. I'll double click on it. As you can see here, we have two different folders. Each one of them is for a specific installation. And whenever you finish this installation, you can go to your Explorer. You can see it on this path, Windows, Program Files, FSLogix, Application. Here we have the configuration tool, and we have FX shell, and we have the rule editor, and we'll be seeing that. This is the configuration tool. You run it, and we reach the same screen that I'm showing you on the presentation. Here you can see this screen. As you can see here, this is where you set up everything. You can add everything that you need from rules, okay? And set the location of the VHD where these profiles are installed, and you can choose between VHD and VHDX. It's better to use the VHDX, of course, because it's much faster. As you can see, this is the allocation type, full allocation or a dynamic allocation. We can also set the users. If we have some settings that we need to import to another configuration or to another container, you can get them from here. And here you can see all the profile folders and control over them. Okay, this is the presentation. This is what I was talking about. This is what I'm showing you. Then this, to install the FSLogix, we set that. I showed you how to do that. And then click the options to specify the installation folder where you're going to use it. And you can be here and see all these configuration. Of course, you have a lab that you will do these in order to get them fixed more and more clear for you to understand what we are doing here. But in brief, the FSLogix profile configuration tool is the tool that will help us configure the FSLogix container. This container is where my profile or profiles for my users are stored on a shared storage, so that this FSLogix profile configuration tool makes it easier for me to control these profiles using this configuration tool. Some options I might use, let's talk a bit about them. We have 3 types of storage. I can store my FSLogix profile containers. We have the Azure files. They are for general purpose. We have the Azure NetApp files. I should register to this service and create this service and create a share on the NetApp files, and then I will be able to use it. Why do I use the NetApp, or when should I use the NetApp? When I need ultra performance or migration from NetApp to on-premise. Then this is the one with the highest performance. So if I install on my Azure files and use the sharing, it will be fine. It will be good. It's much better than using it on storage spaces directly. So the Azure NetApp files is the best way to store and manage, or where I should betterly install my FSLogix profile containers. I will show you how to do that, and you will do that on your labs. But in comparison between the case scenarios, when I'm using a general purpose, I get the Azure files. When I am using cross platforms, which means between on-premise and on cloud, I use, or between cross platforms, I use the storage spaces direct. While when I need ultra performance or when I'm migrating from NetApp on premise, I just use the Azure NetApp files. I will show you where to see that on the next, after I finish this table. What is the platform service? Yes, it is for Azure, and yes, it is an built-in solution. This is the Azure files. It is a built-in native solution. And also Azure NetApp files is also an Azure native solution. But when I'm using the storage space direct, this is managed by me because it is not a native solution. Redundancy, yes, it supplies redundancy. Yes, it supplies redundancy. Here it supplies the local redundancy. Then, when I am confused, when I don't know what to choose, I just see the preferences or the features of each of these to decide where am I going to store my FSLogix profile container. If I need a general purpose, maybe I need 100 terabytes with up to 5 uh, speed with up to 5 per general purpose account, I get this. Maybe I have a minimum share size 1 gigabit, I go to this. So I study my configuration or study my recommendation or requirements, and then I decide where am I going to install the FSLogix containers on the Azure files or the Azure NetApp files or on the direct space storage. So it is related. My decision will be related to capacity maybe, or to the requirement infrastructure, or to the protocols I'm going to use. So again, I decide where to install my FSLogix profile containers. What technology am I going to use by just taking into consideration the features I need plus the features that are supported by each of these services. My needs in addition to that. I will go to the portal and show you the NetApp files. Okay, it should be installed here. I will show you just what I mean by that. Who is downloading NetApp files? This is the NetApp files. Okay, I have created this one. Whenever you need to use the NetApp files, you should register this service first before you use it. You will have the steps I will show you in the subscription. I will show you my subscription. It should be a registered source. In my resource providers. I would type NetApp So I will check and it is registered. Before you can use it, you need to register it. There are some steps you should follow to register. The NetApp files. Here you can follow. You need to do that using the command, the Azure command prompts, cloud. Okay, you need to have these commands performed before you can start using the NetApp files. After you do that, you can go to your NetApp file and create a share there. Okay, now you press on the share and the create, and all you have to do is give it a name, the subscription you are using, put it in a resource group, and you must check that you are using a location that is registered with these NetApp services. Okay, this is my NetApp. As you can see here. Here you can set the quotas, the properties, blah, 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 and you will be doing and seeing that in more details during your labs. Okay, profile container and office container. Of course, we have a feature that is an additional feature for us to have is in additional to your profile container, you can have an office container. This container is used specifically and designed specifically to store the office programs or applications in it, as it is used to store your files for the office. I mean the configuration for office, the configuration files for office. As you can see, the profile container is used to redirect the full user to this profile. The office container is designed to improve the performance of office in non-persistent environment. Non-persistent environment, which means that the changing environment. Profile container is used for non-persistent virtual environments such as virtual desktop. What I need you to know is that simply office container is a subset. Office container is a subset of the profile container. Although all the benefits of the office container are also delivered from the profile container, there are times when it might be beneficial to use them together. So you might face sometime a place that you need to split your profile from the office container. So you create two containers, one for the profile and another one for the office. This way you can split the load so you can have better performance for both your profile and for the office. Whenever you are a heavy user and you have many users who are using your office, here this is the scenario where you need to split the load or split the containers into two in order to split the load over them, and you get better performance for both your profile container and for your office container. How to configure the office container? As you can see here, using the office container, both the user and the application see the option of the profile managed by office container as if they are located on their hard disk, which means that whenever you are using the office, whenever you are using your own profile, what you get the feeling that these are installed on your computers. Those profiles makes it or gives you the benefit that you have this application locally in your computer, because they speed up the process. All the benefits of office containers are automatic when using a profile container. Whenever you are using this Office container, you have, as I told you, all the storage. Whenever you press on file or open or blah blah blah, you get the feeling that you are using the Office locally. Office container also could optionally be used with profile container to place Office data in a location separate from the rest of the user profile. So you have this option to have, I told you that, you have this option to install all your data separately from the profile you are using. You can create another place or another folder or another destination for your Office work, for your Office by itself, by the work that is being done for Office. Here is some configuration you should see. Here is the profile folder. You can go to this profile folder and you have some configuration you should do. I will show it to you using I will go again to my desktop and I will show you how to configure some of these. Oh, it can't be seen here. I will show it to you somewhere else. I will see how I will show it to you. So when you install Microsoft, when you need to install Microsoft quickly and efficiently, you can use FSLogix application container as a template where it stores everything on a certain folder or on a certain destination. You can be offloading your Office application to an app container. This will reduce the requirements for your C drive, which means that whenever you're using the FSLogix application and hosting an Office container on that, you can save the space on your drive C because you are taking that from the shared place, and this will surely make more space for you on your drives. You can use snapshots or backups for your VMs will take, and this will be taking less time, much less time. You can have an automated pipeline, which means that this pipeline, whenever you deploy something to this pipeline, it will be spread all over your profile containers and will be directly delivered to the desktop or to the virtual desktop you are using. You only need one image to install Office, and this is an important feature. From this image, you can install feature into all the virtual machines. It can distribute to all virtual machines you are using in different host pools in your deployment. Okay. Cloud cache, as we all know, the cache is in computer technology or in computer-wise, a cache is let's say, an area where a technology that is used by default to increase the performance and to give us more functionality for any of the services we are requiring. As you can see, the cache is a place where the identifier or the let me describe it to you like in a real life example, like the cache that is used in your local drive. This cache stores the keys for the locations, for the applications, or maybe for the addresses, and this cache speeds up the main target of the cache is to speed up process by delivering or storing. First of thing is storing the keys for the application, which the target keys or the path keys. Whenever I need to use this application again, or let's say an example, whenever I need to visit a website, this is an important example for a cache. The first time I type in the name of this website, it will take a bit of time. directly some of the information related to the address of the key, of this website will be stored in a place that is called cache. Of course, Drive C has cache, Internet Explorer has cache, System Disk has cache. This cache is used to speed up the process of delivering what the user needs. So Cloud Cache is an optional add-on to the profile container and to the Office container. It is a technology that provides incremental functionality to profile container and Office container. User cache uses local profile to service all reads from a redirected profile or Office container after the first thread. So whenever I come back to read again, this information stored in the cache will make the reading and delivering of these requirements much faster. So this is how to configure the cache. Cloud Cache is an optional add-on. It is on the for the profile, for your profile container and for your Office container. It speeds up when I'm trying to reach any location. All settings of this cache of any profile can be set up or registered values. These values makes it easier for you to retrieve your data. So here are the configurations that you might need to configure the cloud cache. Okay, as you can see here, this is the cloud, or this is the location or the string needed. As you can see, this is the address or the path of the profiles. All settings are applied to this location. Here you can see that this is where it is applied. These settings are applied here. And if you need to see the value, this is the value. The type is an SMB connection string. Where is it going? To the location. This is the folder name, and this is the connection string for that. As you can see here, the profile, all these are configuration. I know you might get a bit confused, but when you do that on your labs, you'll get that easier. As you can see here, there is some thing to edit in the registry editor. These are the location of the VHD location. I'm just registering or editing the registry in order to make it easier to see where the profile are installed. Here is the location of the profile. It is under the local machine software. These are the keys that you will be following. And then here you will see the profiles. This is the profile, and this is the profile value. Okay? So the profile container redirects the entire user profile to a remote location. So this profile is surely on a remote location, and a shared remote location. Okay? Profile container configuration defines how and where the profile is redirected. This is where it is redirected. Profile container is inclusive of the benefits found in Office container. It includes them, of course. When using profile container, both applications and users see subprofile if it is located in a local drive. That's what I said. You get the feeling that you are working from on a local hard disk that you have on your computer. You have that feeling, and an important thing that speeds up, or important type that speeds up, is the Net app, which gives a much better or higher performance for that, and would surely give you a better performance and will show you that you are really working on your computer while you are working on a shared location. Here is the steps you might need. Okay. I will show you a screen before I come back to this one. Application masking is where I need to have some control over my applications. I need to create some rule sets for my applications, maybe to mask an application, to redirect an application, maybe to hide a rule or redirect a rule. All these can be done from the FSLogix rule editor. Okay, maybe sometimes you need to add some rules for your applications. Where you can do that, you can do that here from the apps, FSLogix apps rule editor. You can, of course, you are not seeing anything here because it is not connected to any real domain, or I don't have any profiles or anything here, but I'm just showing you the interface and you will see it during your labs, of course. So what I can do with the application masking, I can manage the access to the applications, to the fonts, and to other items based on some criterias. Okay, so you can, using the NetF, the rule editor, you can create new rules, edit the existing rules, import rules from another location. You can manage the users and the group assignment for rules. So whenever you need to manage any rules for your application, so you go to this utility that I showed to you. And what types of rules do you have? Hiding. I might hide a rule. We have redirecting rule. I have app container rules and specify value rules. As you can see here, this is the rule editor with some dummy data. If you can see here, this is the hiding rule. I have it on the Contoso domain. Here are the hiding rule. As you can see here, I have the directory where it is installed. It is the root on the users, on the app data for the local users. These are some examples of the rules that you might be using. The application rule editor is used to describe items such as applications to be managed. Application masking is to manage user access for installed components, which means I can mask an application. A user can see it or not. Application masking may be used to both. You can use both for physical and virtual environment, and you can also use application masking to apply it for non-persistent virtual environments such as virtual desktop. So the application masking is used to manage the rules. Okay? So now we have lots and lots to do with FSLogix. We have seen how to install it, how to download it, how to install it, how to configure it. All we need is to put our hands on real lab environments so that we can see and apply what we have been listening or seeing till now, and then we can apply them to our real environment or to our test labs that we're going to be using. User experience settings. What is the user experience settings? This is something so important. The experience means how is the application or the virtual desktop or the virtual operating system and application performance is. The user experience, how clearly he is receiving the images, how fast is he receiving the images, and there are many factors that affects such a task, which means that many factors affects the user experience. What are these factors? That's what we are going to know and to see. Some virtual desktops, as we said, need to have high resolution. Some of them needs to have high performance. This is up to you to decide what virtual machine, what type or family to use. So needing to configure all these, we have to configure the optimization. We need to configure the persistent virtual disk environment, the persistent, which means that I will be seeing the same desktop or the same profile whenever I log in. I will need to see how to configure the user settings through group policies, because we have many settings that should be installed or should be configured using the group policy. Other things can be configured using some scripts. We need to use how to configure settings through endpoint manager policies, and how to configure session timeouts. Maybe some users are not using their virtual desktop, so instead of leaving them open without being used, the session timeout configuration or properties should be set in order to avoid the cost or to avoid the resources for non-working hardware or non-working images. How to configure the device redirection. Maybe I have some devices, I need them to be redirected to some ports. I can configure the universal print, which is a technology that I can use printers and print through them through the Azure service, because I have a special Azure service for that. And these printers should be, of course, universal print ready to do that. So I'm also going to show you some troubleshooting whenever you are facing any problems with any of the clients or any of the desktop. So you have some troubleshooting issues, you can do them. How to reset the machine, how to do some troubleshooting. Maybe it is a problem with the machine not logging in, maybe it is not responding, maybe it is not connecting or not being able to be connected to. We'll see how to troubleshoot each and every one of these situations. Okay. One important feature is when I'm talking about the read rows, or when I am facing or I'm seeing flickering on my computer, some important thing is to check on the graphic read rows the effects and the background activities that have no major benefits to the virtual desktop environment, to reduce the running processes on the bar menu. Which is what I mean by that. Some background activities, some of the basic operating systems services or activities that are not always used or needed. So I need to do something like reducing the usage of the resources. That's surely will give me better performance for my overall networking first. Then it will give me better performance for my virtual machine, so I can see clearer environment. I can see better environment, better virtual desktop environment to this will surely give me a better user experience. This is what I'm talking about. The guiding principles to optimize the performance of Windows 10 in a virtual environment are to minimize graphic redraws and effects. So I need to have fewer redraws and redraws, because this will surely affect the activities that have no major benefits on the virtual desktop environment and generally reduce the process of to the bare minimum. What I meant by that is that I need a clear environment, a clear picture, so that I do some of uh, the configuration to get to have a mostly the best performance or the best uh, experience I might give to the user. With virtual desktop implementation, with many of these things, I need the optimization principles to be done. Some of the implementation, such as the speed, such as the connection speed and the capacity, will show me some redraws. I will see with you together how can we do that, okay? Sometimes let me take you to this. Screen. Some of the configuration I was talking about sorry. Okay. Before I go to show you that, I want to talk to you about the persistent virtual desktop and non-persistent virtual desktop. I will then explain what I was talking about. The persistent virtual desktop is a device that saves operating system state in between reboots, which means that whenever I log into my environment, I will see the same virtual desktop. A non-persistent virtual desktop is a virtual desktop that is read only. We call it the gold image. When it started, it gives us a screen, or it gives us a copy of the base image that is being streamed to all the VMs. All activity until the next reboot, I work if my users are creating files, working on applications, browsing the web. All these have activities. All these draw or drop what is called temporary files. All these files are being stored into a temporary storage that will be erased whenever I just restart my computers or my virtual desktop. Users are provided with network location to store all their data. Of course, this is being done with the profile container manager. So whenever I'm talking about the persistent virtual desktop and non-persistent virtual desktop, this is the difference between them. The traditional VMs, where the VMs has its own disk. Of course, it is attached to the same disk that it starts and reconnects to that same disk every time. It has an image-based persistent VM, which are connected to a base or gold image. This master or gold image are being updated, let's say every 1 month, or every 2 months, every 15 days. This is up to you. Some of the important things is that to configure user settings. How do we configure user settings? We have lots of configuration that we might be doing. We can configure these settings using the group policies. Where do I see the group policies? The group policies are installed they are on my computer. I will open the group policies for you and drop it. 1 second. Of course, the group policies, the local group policies differs from the group policies that are on the domain. I'm just going to show you how the group policy looks. That's it. This is the local group policy. Whenever you're using your domain, you will be having a domain group policy. You will get to upload that or to edit that policy and just work with it, okay? You have the group policy separated into the computer configuration and to the user configuration. Everything I apply to the computer, it applies to the hardware device or to the virtual device, which is the computer, while I'm using the user configuration to configure what is related to the user. Then, this is the group policy. Lots and lots of configuration will be done for the group, for the users and the groups through the group policy, because whenever I edit in the group policies, this will be applied to all the users and all the groups on on the organization units related or attached to that domain. As you can see here, this settings area, the background intelligent transfer bits, you can configure the branch cache, you can configure the hotspot authentication, you can configure Microsoft peer-to-peer networking services, you can configure offline lines, you can configure lots and lots, you can configure the session timeout, you can configure redirecting the folders, you can configure redirecting the desktop to a certain place. All these can be done with the group policies. The group policies is an important area where you apply the policies that will be distributed in over all the users and the groups you created or you have. In the labs, you are going to create many groups, many organizational units, many users. So the hierarchy will be is organizational unit, and inside this organizational unit, I have users and the groups. Users and the groups. So I need to apply a policy. What is the best method to apply a policy for the user or for the groups is to apply it through the OU. And how to apply it through the organizational unit is with the group policies. Another method to configure user settings is through the endpoint manager policies. You can be using the endpoint manager and you have logged all the users through the Intune. So you have all your machines enrolled. You need to enroll your machines through the Intune. So whenever they are enrolled, you can apply your configuration on them. So you need to have an endpoint manager like the Intunes, and then you can apply your configuration over the enrolled devices on Microsoft Intune. Then, here you can, what I told you about the session timeout, here is where you set it in the group policies. Here you can see this is the policy name. This is set time limit for disconnected sessions. So whenever I have a disconnected session for a reason, I would say to the OU group policy, shut down that computer if it was not responding or if it was idle for about, let's say, 5, 10, 15, whatever you decide. So if you read here, this policy settings allowed you to configure a time limit for disconnected remote desktop sessions. So whenever you have 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 1,000 users working, and maybe part of them is facing a technical issue and they are not responding. So it is the role of the group policy to be always monitoring, or it gets the result from the monitoring tools. It will show it that it has 2 or 3 machines that are being idle or not working for a bit of time. So it will go and consult the group policy if it has a limit or it has a rule set for idle or for not responding computers for 1 minute. If the rule is applied or reached, then it will shut down that computer or that virtual machine. So set time limit for disconnected sessions. If they are disconnected for blah blah time or XYZ time, then the set time will shut down these systems, or the group policy will shut down or log off this session. Set time limit for active but idle. They are active, they are running, but they are idle. There is no activity on them. Set time limit for active remote desktop service session, and the session when time limits are reached. It will be waiting for 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say I decided for 30 minutes. When it reaches the 30 minutes, it will shut down or log off the computer or the virtual machine. Okay? Here are some configuration you need to do if you need to configure a device to be using a USB device. Sometimes you might need to enable or disable a USB device or a USB port, or enable that port. You can go to device resource direction. 1 is enabled, 0 disabled. Let's say you are connecting through a device or a client, a 0 client or a thin client, and you don't want your users to be able to use this USB for flash memories, or you don't want them to use the COM ports, or you do not allow them to use the USB ports. So you can have these features enabled or disabled using the group policies, as you can see here, and allow or disallow redirection. You can see here, this is for the COM port, this is for the clipboard, for the storing of copy and paste, and this will not be allowed or allowed by you. I will give you this example again. Imagine I have a thin client device, likewise, let's say any thin client from HP, from Dell, any thin client. And this thin client has, I will draw it just a bit bigger. It has a USB port and it has a COM port. Okay, you need to enable the USB or disable these ports. This can be done through the group policy editor. Another feature I told you about, I mentioned during the slides, which is the USB, or sorry, the configure universal print. I can have a printer that is connected to my domain, sure, it should be connected to my domain and has the ability of what is called universal print. Okay, this is not any printer that you might have at your home or at your office. You should have a universal print that has the universal print compatibility. You will have to connect this printer through its driver to the universal print connector, and this universal print connector will connect to Azure that has this service, the universal print. Then whenever you need to send anything from your remote location to print it at this printer, you can do that easily. Maybe you have seen that with Wi-Fi printers or e-printers. This is a technology that was invented maybe, I guess, 8 or 10 years ago. All you have to do is to install your printer or just join your printer to your home network. It was called internet printing, I guess, if I'm not mistaken. Whenever you are out of your home and you have your computer connected to the internet, and sorry, you have your computer or mobile device connected to the internet, and you also at your office or at your home, you have the printer that has the ability to be e-connected or to the web connected, you can just send files to print on that printer from your computer or from your phone. Implement the Start Virtual Machine on Connect feature. This is a feature that is like whenever you start your whenever you connect your device or you connect to your virtual device, it starts automatically. What I mean by that, you can keep all your virtual machines shut down, and this is to reduce the cost. You don't have to keep them alive all the time, because whenever you shut down your computer or your virtual computer or your virtual desktops or servers, you stop spending money. So let's say I don't need to use these computers for night shift. The night shift at your side may differ from my side, but let's say it's from 12 till 8 or till 7 or till 6. I am not using these computers. So these computers should be shut down. This will be done by the administrator, will make an auto shutdown, etc. What if today is I have a multi-branch company and I have some people in France and others in England and others in USA, and it happens that one of these days it is the national day of this company. So a host pool that is in USA, let's say it is 4th of July, it is the 4th of July, and today the users in the US are not going to use their virtual machines or their virtual desktop. So the host, which is using the pool that is using the host, this host related to the US should not be started or should not be turned on. So as a feature, I use a feature that says that turn on start the VM on connect. Whenever a user starts or opens this connection, the VM will start. If he doesn't, it will stay off. This is in brief the explanation of the VM on connect. So VM on connect reduces the cost by giving the ability to users to turn their session only when they need them, which is a great feature. Okay? You can then turn off their virtual machine when they are not needed. This is a must. It is not, you should, it's not you can, you should turn off your virtual machines when they are not needed. You can configure your virtual machines to connect for a personal. Of course, you can use this to connect to personal or pooled host pools using the portal or the PowerShell. You can, for personal host pools, start VM on connect will only turn on the existing session. So whenever you are connecting to the host, it will be the only host that will be enabled. It will enable the required host. You can enable it just to turn on existing pools. It is not to create a new host pool. This is so logical. Okay? Sometimes you might face some profile issues. You might face some profile issues like anything related to anything in your service. Of course, you can. The first thing you should do is report this issue. To report this issue, you can go to the Azure Virtual Desktop Tech community for additional help. After that, you can go and report that and set a ticket for the issue you are having. This tech community is the best place to discuss information, to share your information with the guys. Let me take you there with some IT personals. They are sharing or engaging in that. I will go set the pointer and we'll go. I will take you, I will show you this tech community. This is the place where you have lots of posts and discussions. As you can see, Microsoft Intune, all the topics has their titles. So it's a place where you can share or read others what topics they are sharing with you. This is a place you as an administrator, you should visit to see some troubleshooting for your profile issues. As you know, many of the users are great in sharing. They have lots of posts, so you can, of course, you can use to read how to's like how to do this or to do that. You will find many references. Of course, you can search the web, but this is a place where you can search from professional persons, and it is a good place to search for your problems. Of course, you can make a post asking for help, and of course you will get responses from one or many persons are sharing in that place. Let's say we have some issues or we have some problems, like what? Here is the problem, and how there is, and we'll have also some solutions. Okay, here we have remote desktop not responding and cannot be opened. What should you do whenever you face a non-responding virtual desktop client? What should you do? You can reset. This is the first thing you should do, is trying to reset. Of course, you should give it some time. You should wait a bit. But after that, when it's not responding for a long time, then you should try to reset this device. How do you reset this device? You go to the, you say, how would I reset it while it is not working? You can go to the command prompt where it is accessible and set the command to remove all the user data and restore it to the default, and it will be reset. I don't mean reset like pressing the reset button. No, here I am resetting this virtual machine. This will delete all the data, all the temporary files it has created, and it will be restarted or reset. Okay? Web client won't open. I'm trying to log in. I just write in my username and password, but I am unable to connect. You try the pinging for the server. You try many different commands, and you should then test your internet connection by opening another website on the browser. This is the first thing you should do. Whether you should check whether you are facing a disconnectivity with the internet and use some of the nslookup command, like nslookup with giving a certain website. Here is the example. We use this example. I will show it to you. Okay, you can use the net ns look up www.google.com. Okay, since I'm connected, it's fine. I can use also ping www.google.com. Then my connection is fine. If I find that my connection is not working, then the problem is not with the virtual desktop service. The problem is with the internet. So I solve the internet issue, then I get back to try again. This will be a troubleshooting procedure. Web clients, another problem is web clients is keeps prompting for credentials. Web client keeps prompting for credentials. This is an authentication problem. What would be the problem? I should confirm that I am using the correct URL for the user. Maybe I sent the user a wrong subscription or a wrong URL, so I am sending the wrong URL for the person who does not have the ability or the right to connect to this address. This is the first thing I should make sure. I am sending the correct URL to the correct person. Then I have to confirm that the credential you are using are for the Azure Virtual Desktop environment tied to that URL. I will check from my side, are these the credentials that are being used? I will give you another troubleshooting aid. You should make sure that the correct language is being used, keyboard layout that is being used, because many users got lots of problems regarding that or because of that. You should also clear the browser cookies, and you should also clear the browser cache. And as a last resort, you should go to the use the browser private mode or incognito mode and try logging in again. Then these are three problems. The first one is not responding, so I reset it. The second one is the web client won't open. First thing, I check the internet, then I send a ns lookup and a ping command to make sure that I have the internet. If the problem is with the internet, I solve or resolve this problem, then I will be able to log in. If not, then I will have to see some configuration related. Why shouldn't I or wouldn't I be able to connect to the location or to that machine? Then we have another problem, which is the authentication or keeps prompting for the credentials. It might be the wrong URL. It might be that the credentials being used are not tied to that URL. You should also go by clearing the browser, clearing the cache, and the last, as I told you, is trying by using the in private mode. And this is because the in private mode does not have any relation with what you're doing on your browser normal mode. So it won't be taking any of the credentials that you have been using. What I mean by that, now if I have an open, let's say Azure portal, I'm here on this portal. Let me just close here to explain what I'm saying and show it to you. If I need to log in to my Azure, now I will place portal.azure.com. I press on enter. It will take me to the same tenant, okay? Or if I go here and say, but Office 365 login. As you can see here, it took me to the same account. I don't want that. I will close it and I will go to new and private window, Office 365 login. It will take me to a clear form, not connected to anything, and it will ask me to sign in to my account. This is why we should use a new incognito window. As you see here, it's asking me to connect through my credentials. Now, this is the knowledge check. We have seen how to configure user setting through using group policies, how to configure user setting through the endpoint. We explained that, but we didn't put our hands on labs. We will be doing that through the labs. We configured session timeouts. We have seen how to do that, and it is being done through the organizational units or the group policies. And how to configure redirect for Azure Virtual Desktop, which also the same can be done through the organizational unit. Same here for the universal plant. And we have seen some troubleshooting guides for some of the problems. Of course, troubleshooting and being better at troubleshooting means that you have to do lots and lots more of practice. You have to be facing lots of problems. That's when you will be seeing that the troubleshooting is taking much less time. Okay, now we'll go talk to about MSIX. What is MSI and what is MSIX? Of course, we all know that these are the packages that I install application with. As you can see it, we all know that it is installed by using the setup command. We open the setup command opens the MSI packages that are being designed or made by developers. The MSI, this is the normal way. MSIX is an application that is attached on a file share. It can be used with Windows or can be used but with Azure. Both, or what I mean by that is MSIX is known in Windows and known in Azure. But the MSIX designed for Azure is different from the MSIX designed for Windows. So whenever I need to spread or share an application, I just create that package and put that package on a shared drive or on a OneDrive and make it available or shared for other users, and so that the virtual clients or the virtual desktops can get these MSI applications from this shared device or from the NetApp resource or from the shared storage, so that they can use this package and install or update applications for the NetApp hosts. What is the MSI app? As I told you, MSIX package format is the same as you can see here. It is MSI Ash is a way to deliver application. Then I package all the application with an MSI package, MSIX package. It can be used on physical and virtual machines. Okay, and it will be shared to a NetApp maybe, or to this is a NetApp. I put my MSIX there, and since it is shared or attached to host pools, it can deploy this application to all users. It can create it creates the separation between user data and the OS and the apps by using MSIX containers. Whenever I create MSIX container that includes, this is the MSIX container, it includes all the application packages. The user data will be in its own container, and the operating system is also in its own container. These all are three different containers. They are all shared or maybe shared on one storage or different storages, but each and every one of them has its own separate rule. The MSIX is used for application sharing or distribution. The OS might be holding a golden image. As I said, it's golden image. What is the golden image? It's a read-only image for users that they can log in through their their host pools or virtual desktops. It is a read-only. They can work with that, and then whenever the host session ends, the gold image won't be intact, and the user's data that were being used will be erased because they are stored temporarily, while we have another folder that will store the user data that needs to be stored for each user, whether I'm talking about personal pool or for all the users, I'm talking about the shared pools. So here comes the role of the MSIX. The MSIX is where I install the applications that needs to be shared with other users. So I put them or install them or copy them to the shared resource or to the shared storage, and I direct the hosts to take data from there. This is an explanation of how the MSIX stores files or how it works. It, as you have seen here, as you can see now, we have 3 different folders. This is what I was drawing. This is the file share. This is the user profile. And let's say this is the operating system. We have different users logging from the Azure Portal Desktop client. You sign in to select the host pool. The first thing, you log in and you select the host pool, or the broker will guide you to your host pool due to the configuration. So you will be directed to the pool you are supposed to go to. Your assigned virtual machine within the host pool will be assigned to you due to, as I told you, the broker rules or the rules you have set, or to the addresses that you have set for the user. Then the user profile is configured. If the user profile is configured with FSLogix on the session hold, to provide the user from the share. It will give the user its profile from the FSLogix. If the FSLogix is installed, first thing the user will authenticate. The broker will direct the user to the correct pool. The FSLogix will load the user profile for the user. Okay? Then after that, the shared application or the application, the user that are assigned to the users will be shown at his desktop to start using them. Then MSI app or MSI X app attached application are registered to the virtual machine. This is to explain how they are displayed to the user, because they are registered on his virtual machine, or because it is registered at his registry editor or at the group policies, to go to that path where the files of the applications are stored. I will just repeat that again. The procedure, the user logs in, the broker guides, the FSLogix loads the profile, the registry editor or applications that are registered will show or guide or take the files and display the path or display the registered application for the user to be using. Okay? How to set up that? To set up the file shares of the attachment, these are some performance to optimize the MSIX application attachment performance. We have some of the regulations or the advices or the recommendation. The storage of the MSIX application attachment should be in the same data center location as the session host. So take that into consideration. Take that into your mind. To install or to store the MSIX application attachments, make the storage at the same location of the session host. This is a rule, or this is a requirement. Then, to prevent bottlenecks, exclude VHD, VHDX, and CIM files from antivirus scans. So, disable or bypass or exclude your VHD or VHDX or CIM files, put them in the exclude rules of your antivirus software. So you have to exclude all these. As you can see, these are the paths that you should add to the exclusion rules of your antivirus. Separate the storage fabric for MSIX application attached from the FSLogix profile containers. So put these in a container and put the FSLogix profile containers on another. Do not make them on the same storage. So if you have MSIX application containers and you have FSLogix profile containers, just store these containers on one storage and the MSIX app attachments on another storage. All VM system accounts and user accounts must have read-only permissions, and this is for one main reason, a very important reason. If they have the read-only, they cannot edit, so they cannot ruin or destroy or damage any of the file shares. Disaster recovery plans must include replicating, of course, replicating the MSIX app attachment should be done. You should have snapshots. They should be separated on different regions so that in case of any trouble or any problem or anything might happen, you should have another recovery or site recovery location. You can use, of course, your MSIX with using the NetApp files. You just set up a NetApp files account. I showed you how to do that, and create the capacity pool and join them to that Azure connection. You create the volumes and make sure that the connection of the NetApp file are working by joining them to that domain and connecting to them. When you need to configure some application for your clients, all you have to go is go to the application groups. You create an application group, and within that group, you tell the you set the group type to a remote application, and you first thing you do is to create a remote application. Then you add the users to that, or the groups to that application group, then add the application and register this application and verify the access to this application. Okay? These are steps that we'll be doing for sure. We can use the OneDrive as a source of synchronization for my applications. Of course, you register your users with your OneDrive. Of course, you connect them, and it can be a source whenever you or one of the users drop anything to the OneDrive, it will be directly redirected to your applications or to your apps, of course, that are connected to virtual desktop. One of the features that you can and you will be able to use with your virtual desktop is Teams. Of course, it supports calls, it supports meetings, it supports text messaging, it supports all the features of your of the Teams. So you can install Microsoft, or you can use Microsoft Teams on Azure Virtual Desktop. Take into consideration the capacity that it might need, and you can use it easily. Here are some if you need to publish some applications, here is the command you can use to publish this application. You connect to the virtual machine and get the package family and you connect to it through this command. This is the command that will allow you to publish. Okay, it will allow you to publish what you need for your users. This is the publish command. If we have some problems with user data, here are troubleshooting guides for some problems that you might face. If the user input delay counter can help to identify the root cause of bad or end user RDP experience. The counter measures how long any user input remains in the queue before it picks up. So if you are facing any delays, it is the counter, it is the role of the countermeasure to see how long it is taking. Okay, the user input delay a counter measures the maximum delta between the input being queued. It measures the delay time between the sending and receiving, or response time needed. So we have reached the end of today's slides. I hope you enjoyed the explanation. And of course, during the labs, things will get better or get clearer to you when you see things being done by your hands. So I wish we will meet after 30 minutes in the Q&A. Till then, if you need any help or any questions, will be there for you. Now take your break for 30 minutes and get prepared for the labs. I I hope that your problems with your labs are done. Yesterday, we have seen some of you working with the labs. We are here with you after 30 minutes from now, and I hope your labs will go smoothly. We can end the session now, and we can meet after 30 minutes on the Q&A.